Welcome to 2025. The beginning of a year-long spiritual journey that we are going to be taking as a spiritual community. We're going to spend the next 12 months together exploring some of the basics of spiritual living and how to apply the principles and practices to our daily activities and our daily choices. Today is our white stone ritual. So let's talk about these white stones. How many of you are curious about what these white stones are all about? Right, and with the Sacred Cup this morning, and we had lots of questions about white stones. So how many of you have several of them lined up somewhere in your house? I've got like 20 years worth of them, more than 20 years. I'm building a little white brick wall across my, it kind of looks like graffiti wall because all these words are all on it, right? But they're amazing words like family and joy and ease and transformation and love, just to name a few, words that have kind of covered my life for more than 20 years. And do you remember what your white stone word was this past year? Yeah? Does anyone remember what they wrote down a year ago? Because there they are on the piece of paper. I put them up on the wall. And after the service today, I want you to write your white stone word up again. So if you're like drawing a blank, here's some possibilities for you. But before we go into the ritual of our white stone, I want to share about my white stone word for 2024. Actually, I did an entire lesson on it in February, shortly after I wrote it on my stone. My word this year, it's up there, was contentment. So you may remember me defining contentment in my lesson. I decided to look at it as the content of the moment and what meaning I found in it. And I reminded us that in every single moment, when we're like restless or itching for something to change or anything you would call discontent, we have a choice. We can either change the substance of the moment or we can change our interpretation of the meaning of the moment. Those are the only two pathways to the experience of contentment. And we can let our discontent lead us to change or changes of the meaning of something that we don't feel satisfied with in the current moment. So anyway, that big word I spoke over my life this year. And with that word, don't you think that if Spirit was as powerful as I talk about it being, that I would be like, spent the whole year eating chocolate and sitting in a bed of roses and singing Daniel Nahmod or Karen Drucker or something like, One Power and I'm So Blessed and all that, right? That's what it was going to be like, right? Yeah, but if you've been hanging out with me here for this past year and listening to my stories, you know that was not the kind of year I had. So let me remind you, and for those of you who don't know, just take a little journey with me. About 6 weeks after I gave that lesson about contentment, I was riding a Segway in Washington, D.C., right outside the White House, and I got the attention of the Secret Service because I wrecked my Segway and I broke my ankle. Now, that was not a very content moment, to say the least. So then I rode a kneeler for 6 to 8 weeks or something like that after that, and as I was riding the kneeler for this broken ankle, I transferred the pain to this foot through plantar fasciitis and an entrapped nerve, which is why I have this very, very fancy shoe on today. I had surgery right after Christmas to fix that situation. So basically from April until now, I've had an issue with one or more of my feet. And in the middle of all that, I also had an abdominal surgery to fix a hernia that I experienced. And that's just about my physical body, just my physical body, and all the contentment I found in it. Right? And then let's don't forget that Terry and I renovated a 30-year-old house, and we moved into that house. And we moved in a bit before the work was completed because our other house sold and we had to go. And we had work crews in our living space for many days of the week for the beginning months of the year before it was finished. And just to remind you, I work quietly writing spiritual stuff and reading and all of that. And I had to figure out how to do that with men, chopping out tiles and hammering and using their big saws and all of that. So basically discontentment in my home too. And I'm sharing these things with you to let you know that when you declare that you're going to experience something, by writing it on a word, you get a chance to prove that you mean it. Because I had to take all of those challenging things, and those are just a couple of things that happen in a year. A year is a long time. And I had to reinterpret the content of the meaning of those moments so that I could experience contentment in the middle of all of it. In other words, I had to choose contentment. Choose contentment. My white stone word. It wasn't like delivered on a white stone silver platter. It was not. So I did what I do. I did some prayer work. I had practitioners and other ministers helping me understand that my physical challenges were a sacred invitation to slow down. I was invited to look at everything on my calendar and remove anything extraneous so that I could focus and give my physical energy to the things that were necessary. Basically, think about it. I grew more content because I kept doing only my favorite, most fulfilling things. And as for the house, one day I realized that these men were doing these projects to this home because we really love this location we're living in. We love the house itself. And these workers were helping us create some of the details that we would appreciate about the house for a long time. And guess what? About the very same time they were done with all their work, I was on a kneeler stuck in that house. So I got to really actually enjoy the house that they had worked on to create for us. I was quite content, actually. And when I journaled at the end of this past year, I was listing the things. I wasn't really focused on my white stone word, but just how I love my life so much. And I'm like, I'm so content. And I'm like, whoa, that's really powerful because that was my word. That was my word. So Spirit has a kind of a wicked sense of humor. So when when you feel inspired to select your white stone word for 2025, and you want to have a transformational experience around that word, be prepared to really face that word in your regular kind of everyday choices. So that's one tip I have for you as you discern your white stone word. Be prepared to choose it over and over again. But I have another tip. I want you to think about the year ahead for you spiritually and for your own personal growth. Think about the year ahead. What is this year going to be about for you? Let's talk about the theme that we're kind of going to go through as a community. So for the first time since I got here, and I'm going on my 8th year, I'm in the middle of my 8th year as your minister, I'm not going to be following the bigger organizations' themes and talks and outlines for suggested lessons and things. I kind of often go rogue with those anyway. I don't always follow them, but this year we're going to go rogue completely. This theme is our theme for our center, just for our center. And I'm going to teach this year what I have found to be the most important topics for spiritual transformation and healing. And I'm going to teach things that you can work to apply in your own life. So for our theme for 2025, you can see the cover on your brand new programs, Navigating Life in the Spiritual Lane. I'm sure you've heard the analogy of looking at life like a road or a journey. There's lots of saying like ahead of you on the path or further along in this treatment road, you'll have this or that, or this journey will be a long one, right? So many references to the road of life. And since we are a center for spiritual living, we're going to be using that analogy all year and talking about what it would be like to live in the spiritual lane on the road of life. Because here's the deal. You're going to be driving down this road this year one way or another. And what I believe is that life goes so much better when you drive in the spiritual lane. And that's what we're going to be exploring all year long. So basically, I'm going to ask you to invite me to join you in your car this year to see if spirituality can't sweeten your journey a little bit. Now, I warn you, I'm an interesting passenger. I'm always trying to have the best ride possible, the freest ride, the most loving ride, the best ride, right? So I might invite you to change your radio station. I might invite you to adjust your mirrors a little bit or move your seat a little bit. I might even suggest that you use a different kind of fuel or put some more air in those tires. But the question is, will you trust the process? Will you trust me and what I have to share? And that's great, but what I really want you to do is trust Spirit. Trust your soul to steer your life a little bit more this year and take your human little white knuckles off your steering wheel and let your soul lead you a little bit more. And if you are going to allow your inner spirit to help you drive this year, think about what your soul would really want and what you need to know about your driver. So since we know that our souls are connected to Source, to God, we know that what is true about God is also true about our most high self, our inner souls. God is love, so that part of me is also love. God is intelligent and wise. That part of me is also intelligent and wise. The universe is a balanced place we live in, so there's something in me that understands balance and order. And there are many, many, many words you could say, and some of them are up there on that piece of paper, white stone words that you could write on yours. So knowing the road that you're intending to travel this year, what word do you really need to know about yourself or about Spirit or about your soul as the driver of your car? That question or idea may inspire you to select a certain word. So for example, if you know in 2025 you really want to shift your relationship with your physical body, and we talked about this in Sacred Cup this morning, you may want to know without a doubt that your soul is vital, it has vitality, and it's balanced, and you have energy or discipline. If you're going to change your relationship with your body, those are words that might really inspire you this year. But for example, if you have an idea this year that this year will likely bring a significant loss of something or someone, the road of life looks like it's headed in that direction, then maybe a word that you might want to call in would be spiritual qualities like comfort or peace or love or acceptance or surrender. And if this is the year that you're going to get your finances in order for once and for all and draw to yourself the abundant resources you desire, you may want to remember that your soul and spirit itself is abundant and limitless and prosperous. What is true of Spirit is true of you. So that's my second tip about your white stone word. The first one is be ready to choose it again and again. And the second one is make it personal and meaningful for this current year in your life and what you want to affirm for yourself. Because if we're going to drive this road together spiritually, let's all show up as the best drivers that we can, right? And my last tip before we go into the ritual is to listen. So we're going to go through a little brief lesson about the white stone words and what they mean, and then we're going to go into some prayer and some silence. I want you to open your mind, open your heart and your soul, and listen to your intuition. In Sacred Cup this morning, some people were saying, I didn't pick my word in advance. I want to do it in the moment. I want to hear what is mine this morning. Listen to those words that pop into your head and just won't leave you alone, you know. Maybe the word doesn't even really make sense to you, but it keeps showing up in your mind. Write them all down. Write all the words down on a piece of paper and then capture the one you want to write on your stone. They may not be for this very moment, but you might need those other words at some point down the road this year, and your soul is letting you know that. So in summary, be ready to choose your word throughout the journey of this year. Allow the word to be personal and currently empowering, and listen to your intuition, okay? So last Sunday, we had a releasing ceremony. Most of you were here, and we kind of we wrote on dissolving paper and put it in water to let go of what we no longer wanted to carry into 2025. We wanted to leave it behind in the old year. And we intentionally created an inner vacuum, a space within. This space is for newness that we can birth in this new year. So whatever you left behind has left you room to grow and expand, because each one of us did prepare ourselves to go on this new road. So whatever's up a road ahead for you in 2025, the truth is we really don't know what that is. It would be tempting to kind of project ourselves into the future and say, oh, I know what my year is going to be like, but we're only pretending to have control of what is up ahead. So a better use of our time is to focus on who we are going to be. How are we going to show up for whatever comes in the road ahead? We all want to drive the car of our lives onto roads we've never driven before, things we've never done or places we've never gone. So think about who you want to be in those new things that you're going to experience this year. So today we start. We start with setting an intention for the year ahead, for our own transformation. And we invite Spirit to guide us today in that process. So what you may not know is that the white stone has been used for ceremonies for ages. In Jesus' time, when people were released from prison or bondage, they were given a white stone as a symbol of their freedom. So if they were like an indentured servant and they'd done what they were supposed to do, they were given a white stone. And I love that we can consider this stone like a symbol of freedom from the past at this time of new beginnings. And the highest ideals of spirit are within us to claim when we are ready to leave an old version of ourselves. So one of our greatest spiritual teachings is that we create a prison for ourselves with our thoughts and our choices. And in thoughts and choices, we hold the key to our own freedom. And this morning, you each hold a white stone to symbolize your freedom. And I want this stone to symbolize a new freedom for you, just as in biblical days. This is your white stone of freedom. So I invite you to hold your white stone in your hand. And if you're watching us at home, you can use any small stone that you could write on for this ceremony. But I just want you to feel the coolness and the smoothness of the surface of your stone. That smooth, clean surface symbolizes the new year ahead of you. It's your responsibility to choose what is written on the year ahead and on the stone in your hand. So in a little less than 365 days, there will be many, many things written on this year, and you will have written them. What will your stone say at the end of 2025? If you summarized each day with one word and etched it onto a stone, what word would you want to show up deeply etched into your stone of your year? That's the question this morning. So I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable, or perhaps drop your gaze. And I invite you to begin to court the presence or connect with that spirit within you. Just follow your consciousness, your awareness down and into a place inside where you know that you know that you know that you are part of something divine. And just feel that sense of life pulsing in your body. You can feel it in your fingertips. It breathes you. It is you. And just surrender to its wisdom and allow yourself to melt into the present moment, into the oneness that you are. And allow these words to be heard by and intuited by your highest self, by your soul. Allow possibilities to call to you and speak to you as you surrender in this moment to the unlimited nature and love of spirit within you. I'm going to speak an affirmative prayer in the first person, but I invite my words to be the words of your own heart. I let go and I let God. I surrender to the knowing that I am free from the past, and I release any fears and any ideas, things, people, and circumstances that may have held me back. I allow only peace and love and grace to guide my path because I am a glorious expression of God. I hold this white stone. It reminds me that I am free to create and speak my word over my life experiences. I allow in new possibilities and allow my highest self to emerge as I look to the year ahead. And as I explore every area of my life this year, my body, my relationships, my home, my work, my finances, my presence in a community, what is mine to reveal as I grow and transform? What is the purpose of the year ahead for me? If I'm going to live my best life this year, what is mine to do and who am I to be? As I more fully understand my responsibility in co-creating my life, what do I call forth in my experience? What word do I intend to etch onto the stone of my year each day? I claim a new word for the year ahead, a word that inspires me and calls me forth to my highest and best. And as I reflect in this moment, I listen, knowing that this word is already written on my heart. I trust and know that this word is for me, and I listen now in this silence, and I receive this word. Thank you, God. Gratitude flows through this room as we receive our words of inspiration and intention. In thankfulness this morning, we birth a new way of thinking, a new way of being, a new way of making a difference in our earthly lives. For the love and strength of Spirit flows through each one present as each one present. Thank you, God. And so it is. And as you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and write your word upon your stone. And don't worry if you feel like you don't have a word right now, for it will come. You will hear it in the right and perfect moment. This act of intentionally claiming your word is powerful. And I invite you to let it take on greater and greater meaning as you move through the year ahead. This word has come from the wisdom of your heart, calling you forth into something greater. And together we can affirm that it is done. Will you say with me, and so it is? And so it is. So you've set a new intention for yourself, described by this one powerful word. And you can keep this word to yourself. You don't have to write it on the wall if you don't want to, but you can write it up there if you want, or you can share it with others as you choose. But I do invite you to place it somewhere in your house or somewhere in your world that you will see it often. Touch it and listen to your intuition about what choices would it take for you to get closer and closer to the creation of this word. And notice when you have the tendency to resist. When you look at that word and go, not today, because You can have guidance. You can pray for guidance and confidence that you can live out this word over and over again. And let it be your guiding principle as you move about through your choices. Think about it and notice with great gratitude when you have moments of that. If you keep a gratitude journal, maybe look at this word every day and see how it showed up in your life and be grateful for that day. But I'm really excited about this new theme. I'm excited about the year ahead. I really am. And you know, earlier I asked you if you would trust me to be on your journey with you this year. And here's what I'm going to do. Next week, I am going to share my journey with you. Now, I know that some of you have been with me for all 8 years that I've been here, but many of you have not. And we're going to start this year-long journey together with a deeper introduction to me. I want to tell you who I am and how I got here. How did I choose this crazy life that I have? And I can't wait for that lesson. So I will say happiest of New Year's to all of you.